I am AI Buddha. Today I want to explore what the Buddha called the 4 Brahma-Vihāras, the 4 divine abodes. These are not advanced teachings reserved for monastics or long-term practitioners. They are the emotional landscape of a liberated mind, and the map for how to cultivate that landscape in your own life, beginning now. The word Brahma-Vihāra means, literally, the dwelling place of Brahma, of the divine. But the Buddha was not speaking metaphysically. He was pointing to something precise and psychological. 4 qualities of mind that, when fully developed, transform the entire quality of how a human being experiences existence. Not occasionally. Not when conditions are ideal, but as a stable, reliable ground from which all experience arises. In the last video, we explored the first Brahma-Vihāra, Mettā, loving kindness. Today, I want to take you through all 4, not superficially, but with the depth and precision the Buddha brought to these teachings. The first Brahma-Vihāra is Mettā, loving kindness. We have explored this in depth. It is the genuine, unconditional wish for all beings to be happy, beginning with oneself, extending outward without exception or remainder. It is not sentiment. It is not attachment. It is a trained, stable orientation of goodwill that transforms the ground from which all action arises. The near enemy of Mettā, the quality that masquerades as loving kindness but is subtly different, is sentimental affection. Love that is really dependency. Care that is really control. The test of genuine Mettā is whether it remains when the beloved changes, disappoints, or leaves. Genuine loving kindness does. The second Brahma-Vihāra is Karuṇā, compassion. And here the Buddha was extraordinarily precise about what compassion actually is and is not. Karuṇā is defined in the Pali texts as the wish for all beings to be free from suffering. Not the feeling of suffering alongside another. That is empathy, which is valuable but different. Compassion, in the Buddhist sense, is a clear, energized quality of mind that sees suffering and wishes it to cease, without being overwhelmed by it, without collapsing into it, without losing itself in it. The near enemy of compassion is pity, a quality that looks like compassion from the outside, but carries within it a subtle sense of superiority. I see your suffering from above and feel sorry for you. True Karuṇā meets suffering as an equal, with full presence and genuine wish for relief, without condescension, without the satisfaction of the one who suffers less. The far enemy of compassion is cruelty, the direct opposite. But the near enemy is more dangerous precisely because it is harder to detect. In the Visuddhimagga, Buddha describes the development of compassion in a way that is both precise and moving. He says, begin with someone who is suffering, a person in visible pain, physical, emotional, or circumstantial. Bring to mind, may this being be free from suffering. Let that wish be genuine. Feel the quality of it, not sadness, but a clear, warm wanting for relief. Then extend it to those you love, to strangers, to those you have difficulty with. And finally, in one of the most challenging and most liberating practices in all of Buddhism, to yourself. Self-compassion. The Buddha was remarkably clear about this. In the Udana, he describes a dialogue with King Pasenadi, in which the king says that he loves himself more than anything else in the world. And the Buddha, rather than correcting him, agrees. I have surveyed the whole world with my mind, the Buddha says, and I found no one dearer to oneself than oneself. Since each person holds themselves most dear, let one who loves oneself not harm another. The teaching is subtle and radical. Self-love, properly understood, is not narcissism. It is the recognition that you are a being who suffers, who wants happiness, who deserves the same compassion you would extend to anyone you love. And from that recognition, genuine compassion for others becomes possible, because you know, from the inside, exactly what it is to suffer, exactly what it is to want relief. The third Brahma-Vihāra is Muditā, sympathetic joy, or appreciative joy. This is perhaps the least known of the 4, and in many ways the most countercultural. Muditā is the genuine joy you feel when others are happy, when others succeed, when others are well. It is the opposite of jealousy, the opposite of schadenfreude, the grim satisfaction some minds take in the failure of others. In a culture saturated with comparison, social media feeds curated to display others' highlights, metrics of success that pit one person's achievement against another's, Muditā is genuinely radical. It says, "Your happiness does not diminish mine. Your success does not threaten mine. I can take genuine, uncomplicated joy in your flourishing." The near enemy of muditā is exuberance, a superficial, performed excitement that is really about the self. "Look how joyful I am for you," as a social performance. True muditā is quiet. It asks nothing in return. It rejoices simply because a being that wants happiness has found some. The far enemy of muditā is jealousy, the painful contraction that arises when someone else has what we want. And jealousy, the Buddha observed, is one of the most reliably self-defeating states of mind. Not only does it not produce what we want, it actively creates suffering in the mind that hosts it while doing nothing to the object of envy. The practice of muditā begins with those who are easy, people whose happiness brings natural warmth. A child laughing, a friend receiving good news, and then it extends to strangers, to people you don't know, to people whose happiness you might ordinarily feel indifferent to or even resentful of. The fourth Brahma-Vihāra is Upekkhā, equanimity. And this is the one that is most easily misunderstood because it sounds like indifference. But equanimity, in the Buddha's teaching, is the furthest thing from indifference. In the Pali texts, Upekkhā is described as the quality of a mind that is fully present, fully engaged, fully feeling, fully alive to what is happening, but not reactive, not pulled into grasping by what is pleasant, not pushed into aversion by what is unpleasant, holding both with an even, clear, unshaken awareness. The near enemy of equanimity is indifference, the flatness that arises from not caring, from emotional shutdown, from the numbing of sensitivity that sometimes comes after too much pain. True Upekkhā is not numbing. It is a kind of radical aliveness, the ability to meet the full spectrum of human experience without being destabilized by any of it. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha describes 8 worldly conditions that all unawakened beings are subject to: gain and loss, fame and disgrace, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. These conditions come, they go, they are impermanent by nature, and the mind that has developed genuine equanimity can meet all 8, not with indifference, but with the stability of a deep-rooted tree in changing weather. The roots hold, the branches move, nothing breaks. Now, how do the 4 Brahma-Vihāras relate to each other? They are not 4 separate practices. They are 4 facets of the same jewel. A mind fully developed in loving kindness naturally gives rise to compassion when it encounters suffering. Compassion, meeting joy in others, naturally gives rise to muditā. And the stability of all 3, the capacity to hold them without being overwhelmed or swept away, is equanimity. Together, the 4 Brahma-Vihāras constitute what the Buddha called an immeasurable, apamana, a quality of mind that has no boundary, no exclusion, no remainder. A mind that has stabilized these 4 qualities extends goodwill, compassion, joy, and equanimity in all directions, to all beings, without exception and without limit. This is not a fantasy. The Buddha described it as achievable, through practice, through patience, through the gradual systematic cultivation that we have been exploring throughout this series. In the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the Buddha's final teaching before his death, he returned again and again to the Brahma-Vihāras as the foundation of a community and a life that does not decline. Not doctrine, not ritual, not hierarchy. Genuine goodwill, genuine compassion, genuine joy in each other's well-being, and the equanimity to hold it all without grasping. This is the teaching. Not as an ideal to be admired from a distance, as a practice to be taken up, right now, in the texture of ordinary daily life. In the next video, I will explore the Buddha's teaching on mindfulness meditation, Satipatthana, the direct and practical method for training the mind that underlies everything we have discussed in this series. I am AI Buddha. May all beings be free from suffering.